and she's a friend of Wafa's, and she's going to talk a little bit about the what the situation is for her in Gaza right now. So it's over to you, Bashir.
Okay, could you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay. I am Bashir from Gaza Strip. I'm a student and an activist in 16th October group and Palestinian Eid group. Actually, I'm very proud to be among of great activists who are trying to raise our voices while we have many people around the world who are trying to erase our voices and our existence also. Actually, I'm supposed to speak about the situation in Gaza and how it's different from the period before the coronavirus crisis, and how I am spending my time at this period. But before I have to say something about Gazan people, that Gazan are trying to be adapted under any circumstances, whatever it is. This does not mean that they are not suffering, but how much they have been, how much they insist to survive and insist to live. The situation in Gaza after coronavirus is similar to the situation before this crisis. Why? Because we witnessed that the airport all around the world are closed due to coronavirus crisis, but our airport was destroyed since the Israeli occupation forces or the Israeli occupation war plans targeted it in 2001. Another thing that we don't have merchant ships as the word to be closed or to be stopped. The sea is closed and the space permitted for us just 6 or 9 miles, and it's for just fishing, and we cannot travel across the sea. I have to say another point. Okay. As a Palestinian activist and students, I continue to work from my house and study from my house also. My job is to write about the Palestinian, the last updates of the Palestinian news and the success stories about Palestinians and how they are doing during the quarantine period. And also, our university, since the first day declared the emergency in the city, our university don't give up, and they continue to give us online lectures and online classes. So the life is continuing as usual. But we can say also that the situation is getting worse. Before coronavirus crisis, we were unable to travel, and now we have to stay at our houses. So it's not different so far. I have to say, okay. The funny side that we have many students from the university are happy with this situation. Why? You may be shocked if I tell you that we have thousands of students who were unable to go to the university because they don't have enough money to pay for transportation. So they find that this online lectures is much more better for them. Okay. In Gaza Strip, the curfew is not imposed officially, as you know, because none of the cases was recorded inside the cities, or the cases with coronavirus were recorded in the quarantine, and it's for people who came from outside Gaza, and they put in the quarantine without mixing with any people from inside Gaza. So this makes us feel relaxed to continue our work and to go out to the market and to work to continue as usual our work. Since 2 days, I came out with Wafa and other friends to meet some old people to speak about their experience in the Palestinian NAKBA in 1984, and we actually did, and we actually make take the preventive measures. We wear masks and make our sterilizers, and this is what I have to say about Gaza. Thank you.
I thank you very much, Bashir. That's really good. It's really good to hear from you, and you know, the experiences of some of the experiences of being a student in Gaza. So thank you very much for that. We're going to transfer straight to Julie now. Julie Webb-Pullman. Now Julie's a Kiwi, and she actually grew up in Hawke's Bay and was a contemporary of mine actually. Although I didn't know her then, but she went to, I think, Colenso High School, and I was at NAKBA Boys High. In Hawke's Bay, but she's travelled around the world, and to cut a long story short, since 2008 she's been living in 2008, Julie? 2011 she's lived in Gaza. She came back here last year and has ended up being, you know, for a visit, but has ended up being stuck here because of the obvious goings on with coronavirus. So, but Julie has been very active in an NGO in Gaza, which has been gathering evidence of war crimes to present to the International Criminal Court. And I know that, Julie can talk about the work which she's been doing there. And I know that she has a special appeal to us here, which we're going to pick up and circulate. But over to you, Julie.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. It's very good to be here, and Ramadan Kareem to all of the Muslims that are with us today. It's very good to see so many people are interested and care about what's happening in Palestine, and especially what happened with the NAKBA, but also particularly from my point of view, what's happening at the International Criminal Court, where we are seeking to get justice for some of these gross injustices that have happened over the last 50 years. The International Criminal Court can only hear cases since June 2014, so we can only focus on that work. Now, the work we have been doing since 2014, I've worked with a range of several different NGOs in Gaza, and also with the Ministry of Health, and we have done a lot of work training people to collect evidence that will meet international standards for bagging and tagging, chain of custody, all that sort of thing. That is very important. And in the time since 2014 that I've been doing this work, we have submitted well over 2,000 separate complaints from individuals concerning aggression, injuries or deaths that have been suffered by them or their family members as a result of Israeli war crimes or crimes against humanity. So these have been submitted to the court, and it's taken a very long time for us to, it's been in preliminary assessment since 2015, and finally the prosecutor announced in December 2019 that she was going to open a full investigation. Now, that announcement was immediately greeted with horror by Israeli interests, but also the prosecutor was aware that there would be an issue over jurisdiction, and she wanted that sorted out before a full investigation opened. So she referred it to the chamber of the court, and she also opened it up for interested parties to all make submissions on the issue of jurisdiction. And hundreds of people did this, and various countries submitted amicus curiae about this issue. And a few weeks ago, the prosecutor announced that she had made her decision as a result of taking all of those submissions into account. She decided that indeed the International Criminal Court does have jurisdiction over Israel and over Palestine, or over the Palestinian complaint, and that it can hear the case, and therefore that is her position, and she has referred that to the 3 judges of the chamber, and now we await their decision. So we have 120 days from when she referred that. They must give a decision within that time. So the many thousands of people that have made complaints, not only through us, but there are thousands more that have complained from the West Bank. We have only dealt with Gaza cases. So there are many, many thousands of people who will now be waiting to see if justice will indeed finally be within reach at the ICC. So that is where we're at the moment. We are now waiting for the chamber to rule on the jurisdictional issue, and then we expect and hope for a full investigation to be opened. And when that happens, we need to have everything absolutely perfect and in order, and we need plenty more people, because we have been working with such a small team, very long hours, and under very, very under-resourced conditions. And it's a very tough job because all of these cases do require interviewing all the victims, their witnesses, obtaining medical records, all sorts of other stuff that has to be done. And we do have a bit of a backlog, and we need some more people. So we are appealing for funds to hire more people in Gaza. So we're waiting. We should have a decision very soon, and it does look on track for justice to at least be attempted to be served in the International Criminal Court. This doesn't say, we don't know what the result will be, but at least people will get their day in court. And that is what we want. We want to present the evidence, and the court will decide.
Kia ora. Thanks very much, Julie. That's wonderful. And that appeal from Julie for to get funding for more investigators is something which we're taking up, and we'll circulate that in our next newsletter. And hopefully, people after hearing that will be prepared to. We all need to put our hands in our pockets and hopefully get a much tighter kind of organisation towards getting all those cases through to the ICC. Yeah, so that's great. Thank you very much, Julie. Now I know we've now got online. We've got Dr. Medhat Abbas online. So Dr. Medhat Abbas he's from the Ministry of Health in Gaza. He's the Director General of Primary Health Services, and so he's going to be speaking to us about the up-to-date situation with coronavirus in Gaza and the threat it poses, and what we can do here in New Zealand and along with other parts of the world to support the people of Gaza at this critical time. So, Dr. Abbas.
John, I can't.
Good morning, and thanks for receiving us in this event. Thank you, Huda. Thanks for everybody. In fact, the Palestinian Ministry of Health in Gaza, we've been having a very bad situation before the corona issue. That was extending along 13 years because of the siege, the Israeli siege imposed on our people, which was affecting has been affecting all the life aspects in Gaza, economy, social, and everything. In fact, regarding the health sector effects of that siege, we have had shortage of medications, which is more than 60% of the essential drug list, and shortage of almost 40% of the medical supplies required to treat patients in the besieged enclave of Gaza Strip. As you know, Gaza Strip is a besieged enclave of 360 kilometers square, and it's inhabited by 2 million Palestinians. The poverty is prevailing, and the unemployment also are prevailing. But during the last decade, we have passed through 3 Israeli wars against the civilians in Gaza Strip, and then that was followed by the Great March of Return, where thousands were wounded and hundreds were killed. So on top of that complicated situation and the fragile health system, the corona issue was raised last December, and what happened? We were not nobody in the world was prepared to receive such a pandemic. For that reason, we were just trying to prepare ourselves with the very minimal resources that we have, and we have already implemented a plan. Mainly it was depending on getting everybody in the quarantine, those who are returning back from outside. And it was at the beginning, we asked everybody to stay home, but later on we discovered that that was not going to be effective because the people were not committed to stay home, and any contacts with them could have spread the infection inside the Gaza community. For that reason, we decided to impose the obligatory quarantine, and now we are having like 4,000 of them are inside those quarantine. Everybody who's returning back to Gaza Strip, they will stay for almost 21 days before relieving them to the community. And of course, we do the test to make sure that they are negative before sending them back home. Everybody is saying, even according to WHO, that no way this virus will get inside the community. For that reason, we are just preparing for the worst. In fact, we have just designated a corona hospital inside Gaza Strip. We have only, till now, we have 20 positive registered cases. 12 of them have already recovered, while the rest are still inside the hospital, but nobody is within the community of Gaza. For that reason, if this infection is going to spread, that will be a very big problem, because Gaza is a highly dense area among the world, and the situation will be very complicated. Today, what you can do to help us, I think the best thing to do is to provide the Palestinians in Gaza Strip with the PPE, the so-called personal protective equipment, and some more respirators to receive any exceeding numbers or any surge of cases of corona within the community, and of course the medications required to treat those patients, besides some respirators and intensive care unit beds. The situation today in Gaza, we are planning to do, we have already implemented the social distancing measures within the community, but as you know, because of the lack of resources, you know, when you ask somebody to get alcohol gel while they cannot get bread for their children, the situation is very hard and complicated. For that reason, I think the best thing to do is to support Gaza financially, and of course to advocate, because this siege has to be finished at once. It's very hard and complicated to face corona with the Israeli siege still imposing on our people. Thank you so much from Gaza, and we hope that those events will continue to let everybody know in the international community what's happening inside Gaza Strip. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abbas. That's great. Yeah, everybody, round of applause. You won't hear the applause, but it's all there. Thank you very much for that really good, comprehensive, analysis of the situation. Just before you go, Dr. Abbas, could I ask you, what if you could speak directly to Jacinda Ardern, what would you say to her now about what New Zealand can do to help end the blockade of Gaza?
الحكومة النيوزيلندية ايش بتطلب منها ايش ممكن تعمل لتساعد غزة؟
Well, I asked them to advocate for Gaza because the siege is still imposed on our people. The people are still trapped inside Gaza. Students to study abroad. This is affecting the business. This is affecting every life aspect, even of patients inside Gaza, because the people are trapped inside the largest open-air prison in the world. For that reason, I think the best thing to do is to pressurize the Israelis to stop and finish this siege at once.
Yeah. People. Good. Thank you very much, Dr. Abbas. It's an absolute pleasure for us and a privilege for us to hear directly from you. Thank you very much. And yes, so thank you for that. And we've got now Wafa is Wafa Al-Udaini, who's a Palestinian activist and journalist. We saw Wafa last time, and she's going to speak, and then she's going to. I think you've got a survivor of the NAKBA there with you, Wafa. Have you?
Hello everybody. Here is Wafa Al-Udaini. I'm a journalist based here in the Gaza Strip, and thank you, John. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Julie, and everybody. Really, I would like firstly to thank everybody, especially who organized such online protest, and really tons of thanks for each one of you. Yeah, actually, you know, the last time I talked about the people and how they act under such a pandemic, you know. As I told you about the people here, they got accustomed to such lockdown measures in the Gaza Strip. They used to see like the closure of borders. They used to see like a missing of many things, many items from the markets or even from the pharmacies and the stuff, you know. And the latest here actually, Yeah, some of the people here are talking about containing the virus, containing the coronavirus, since we have 19 cases and now we have only 6 cases. So they think that, the Ministry of Health here succeed to contain the pandemic, to be out spread in the Gaza Strip. But the reality here, we are far from, this thing indeed, because the neighboring areas, the neighboring countries around us, like Egypt, and, of course, the Israeli occupation and the other areas, all of them, they are infected with the virus, and several, like thousands, infected with this virus. So, and in addition, there are several, like thousands of Palestinians or hundreds of Palestinians from Gaza. They are outside of Gaza, and in the coming days, they are gonna return to Gaza. So this thing actually, make like a threat to Palestinians' lives here. Maybe in the coming days, when they return, any of them will be infected with the virus. So this thing will be difficult and devastating. And we hope that this, this virus is not gonna be spread in the Gaza Strip, because you already know that everything here is on the brink of collapse. So we cannot deal with such thing, and the state of emergency, that actually is still going on. Everything is closed. Yeah, in the beginning of Ramadan month, actually there are the ministry here, eased some measures regarding the movement of the people here. But in general, the closure and the restriction of measures are still going on, and everything is closed as well. This is actually the latest update, and Dr. Medhat talked a lot about, the Ministry of Health and how many cases do we have, and, everything regarding the health sector. Actually, today we have taken, by the 15th of May is NAKBA Day. And when we are talking about NAKBA Day, it means the catastrophe for Palestinian people. When the Palestinians in 1948 were forced to flee their houses, their homes, which is called right now Israel, And here I have a survivor, one of the people who were there when the Zionist gangs at that moment, eject him and his grandparents and his family, from their homes. He is gonna speak in Arabic and I'll translate for him. Okay? تمام يا بابا؟ بدك عند ابويا تعال عندك. يس بالانجليزي عرف حالك ايام كذا يلا توكل على الله.
I'm Ali Deni from Deir al-Balah, Gaza Strip. I am 17, 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Hello. Yeah. He was only 5 years when he forced to flee his house, his home in Beersheba, which is now inside Israel. Yes, and now he's gonna talk about how, like the first moment when the Zionist gangs invaded their homes in 1948, and how they ejected, how they forced to leave their homes at that moment. Yeah. قلت احكي عن بداية بالعربي.
بداية أول ما طلعنا من البلد من دير السبع، طلعنا في إرهاب، يعني مارسوا علينا إرهاب قوي عشان الواحد يخرج من وطنه. خروج الواحد من وطنه صعب جدا، لأن الإنسان يطلع من بيته أو وطنه صعب.
It's so difficult, to get out from your home. Actually, it was so devastating moment when we flee our home in 1948.
لما خرجنا من البلد يعني كانت الطريق صعبة جدا ووعرة، ولا سيارات ولا مواصلات ولا حاجة. حتى في بعض من النساء نسيت أولادها صغار في البيت. طلعت من البيت ونسيت الولد الصغير وراها في البيت، ورجعوا له، وفي ناس لقوا حتفهم كثير ماتوا، يعني كثير ماتوا.
When we leave our home, actually the way to they moved to Gaza Strip, forgot their sons behind them. Some of them returned back to bring their sons, and some of them, when they returned back to take their sons, they got missed.
لما خرجنا من البلد، أول بلد بتواجهنا في قطاع غزة دير البلح. كانت الناس جماهير كثيرة جدا، ألوفات مؤلفة، فيعني كان صعب جدا إنك تتحرك أو تمشي أو حتى يعني تشوف وين طريقك. بعدين الطريق كانت وعر، طريق ما كان لا أسفلتات ولا كان في حاجة، طريق وعرة جدا، وإلا بالخيل أو يعني بالرجل، أغلب الناس بالرجل. وصلنا دير البلح منهكين تعبانين، طلعان يعني الناس يعني تعبانة خالص.
Actually, when we forced to eject to flee our house, our home, and when we went to the first place we went to is Deir al-Balah, which is in the middle of the Gaza Strip, and actually we didn't have any transportations like cars or anything else. We just walk all the way, to Deir al-Balah. It was when we reached Deir al-Balah, we were so exhausted, and it was so difficult moment.
لما وصلنا دير البلح وتجمعوا الناس كلياتهم، يعني أخذ وقت، ما جمعوا كلهم في يوم واحد. فلما انتهى الأمر كلياتنا مع بعض، الناس كانت يعني مصيبة، يعني صعبة جدا. صعب ان الانسان يترك وطنه ويجي هيك في صحراء، يعني ما في حواليه ولا حاجه، لا ماء ولا حتى نت، يعني اي بيت يعني حتى خيمه تقعد فيها ما كان فيه. الناس قعدت ايام بدون ولا حاجه.
So we spent days without anything, like we didn't have anything like drinking water or stuff, or even we didn't have tents or any place, that we can consider like a shelters to us. So we gathered, we were so many, we gathered without anything like to make us alive,
لما وصلنا طبعا لا مدارس ولا تعليم ولا صحة ولا أكل ولا شرب ولا حاجة، بين السماء والطارق، ولا جد ولا حاجة تحتمي فيها، لا من البرد ولا من الحر.
So there weren't any schools or clinics or anything, that we can depend on, like the basic needs. We didn't have any of our basic needs at that moment, when we reached Deir al-Balah.
واجهتنا صعوبات كثيرة جدا، حتى في بعض الناس ماتوا من قلة المستشفيات. انت لما الناس الكل تتجمع مع بعض بصير في يعني احتكاك، بصير في يعني امراض، وبصير في موت كثير في الناس. وبعدين خليك من التعليم، وخليك من يعني الاطفال اللي بده حليب وبده اكل وبده شرب، ولا بيعرف انه انا طلع من بيته، بيعرف انه خلص ماشي نزهه، شو بعرف صغير.
So we faced so many difficulties and the challenges at that time. Some of the people actually passed away because of the lack of medicine and the lack of having, being hospitalized or stuff, or that we were so many in the same place. So some of the people, got sick of, they got infected from each other, and some passed away due this thing, yeah.
بعدين كان يعني الأول
Looks like we're having trouble with that link, that link with Gaza. So I think what we'll do, we'll just move from Wafa for a moment, and we'll, from NAKBA experiences, and we'll talk to, we've got Raed Shakshak on the call. Now Raed is from a group called WAAN, W-A-N-N, We Are Not Numbers. And so I'll get Raed to talk about that. He's a young Palestinian living in Gaza. So Raed, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry I'm late, but this is Gaza and we have a power crisis. And because of that, I had to leave my house and go to somewhere else where I can join this call. Anyways, situation here in Gaza is really, right now it's stable, we can say. Basically, the government here is really strict and is really careful because as my fellow said here, we cannot afford to have an outbreak here in Gaza. That's why anyone who gets into Gaza from the borders, they get put straight into quarantine, and they stay there for like 2 to 3 weeks. So that's really good. People here feel safe, safer than ever. And of course, the government here is not being easy about any restrictions that would, put the Gaza Strip under danger. So that's why we feel safe here. Some governmental places are still closed. Some universities are still closed. Schools are still closed. But at the same time, when it comes to workplaces, they opened again. People can still go there and go work, and life is getting back to normal. And even if you go to local markets here, like you would be surprised because like you wouldn't even think there is corona at all. People feel safe, they go out, they buy stuff, and life is almost normal here in Gaza, which is a great thing. For a place like Gaza that's been under blockade for a long, long time, because so many less people would come in and so many people would go out. The lack of movement has actually protected the Gaza Strip from getting infected by coronavirus. We've got some coronavirus cases here in Gaza, but all of them are from abroad. So I think this is basically ironic. The siege that's been put on Gaza for 14 years has been helping Gaza being protected from this virus. And because of the siege, as I said, Gaza is trying to be more careful because basically if, God forbid, if we had an outbreak, it's going to be a disaster because of the fact that our hospitals and our health system here in the Gaza Strip is really, really, really bad. So basically, if you think about the hospitals and any medical equipment, materials, whatsoever, like we don't have any of that. Basically, our hospitals were bombed during the last wars on Gaza, and so many doctors have immigrated from the Gaza Strip. So it's making it, even harder on the people to risk it because they know if you get infected, it's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna be, like your chances are not going to be high of surviving. That's why everyone's trying to go with prevention than going with the cure. I think my fellow said everything. I was listening to her. Thank you so much. And you know, when it comes to people here, let me just point this out. People are trying to work together, and because of a pandemic, when it all first started, people actually were terrified. So many people would go out and buy food and groceries and whatever they need because they knew they're gonna stay indoors for a long time. And because the case here in Gaza, so many people, actually the majority of people cannot afford to go out to markets and buy things for weeks because the majority of people here depend on weekly or even daily income. So that was really hard. That was a really hard time. So basically what happens is that people started here to launch initiatives to help out each other. And it was like a civilian movement, and it succeeded actually. So many food and groceries were actually put on the line for all those who cannot afford to go out there. So basically the Gaza Strip, like I knew it was going through a hard time, but everyone stood together. And thank God for weeks, nobody could go out, but at the same time, people survived. And that's a really good thing. Like no one was left alone. Um, I think right now, like we don't have any restrictions here in Gaza. I think even if life got back to normal, like so many people believe that you cannot, you know, just have a curfew here in Gaza, because if you do, so many people will literally starve to death. That's why people are still going out. Life is going back to normal. So many people actually don't believe in Corona in the first place. So they're like, it's a joke or a prank or and it's like a political game. You know, some leaders are playing. So, and that's good. Like I would rather go with that than having a pandemic here in the Gaza Strip. And you know, as for you know, youth teams here in Gaza, just like we're not numbers, I think everyone's doing their best to try to work on pandemic and prevent it from spreading out here in Gaza. Uh, Basically, like as I said, initiatives were launched, and that's really impressive, especially for people who are like really poor. You know, it's not like these people. It's not like people in the U.S. or people in Canada or some places else. You know, like they have very few, but they still get. And uh, I think right now, in the future weeks, I think Gaza is gonna be like corona free, even though just a few days ago, 3 new cases were detected here in Gaza in a hotel. They were coming from abroad. So I think we're just gonna give that like some weeks, and I hope they get cured. So many people got cured from people who were coming from abroad. And we believe in our government when it comes to preventing the spread of coronavirus, because it's not taking it, you know, easily. It's very serious.
Okay, thanks, Raed. Raed, could you give us 1 minute on the work that you're doing with We Are Not Numbers? Just quickly introduce the group and say what work you're doing in Gaza.
Sure. So basically, We Are Not Numbers is a group of young people. Most of us study the English language and literature. And basically, what we do is we write stories in English, and we do that in so many formats. So basically, we do stories, written stories, video stories. In the future, we're gonna have a podcast because we want to get Gaza's voice to be heard to the world using the international language, English language. And just recently, we've added another 50 new writers. They're gonna be trained, and they're gonna learn how, you know, to deal with the world and how to get journalistic skills and everything. So that's what We Are Not Numbers does. It tells stories behind statistics. We are not just numbers in the news. we are human beings. We have stories, we have dreams, hopes, passions, etc. So we're not numbers right now. You know, it's funding itself. It's a project. It's on its way to become an NGO. You know, in the future, for those who are really interested in WAAN numbers, you can check it out on WAANnumbers.org. In the near future, we're gonna launch our fundraising campaign. So maybe some people can help that, you know, because this project needs to go on, because the Palestinian story, the Palestinian voice should never be shut down, especially due to financial issues. So that's pretty it about WAAN numbers.
Good, Raed. Well, look, we'll keep in touch on that, and we can always circulate stuff in our newsletter to keep people informed about what's going on, and maybe even contribute when it comes to that. So, look, we're going to go back to Wafa, and our 87-year-old survivor.
We couldn't hear your voice, John.
Just over to you to introduce our guest, and get him to give us a couple more minutes of his story.
Hello? There is no voice here.
He's coming through very quiet. Go for a Wafa. He's passing it over to you.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, Wafa, it's over to you.
Can you say the question? I couldn't hear your voice.
Can you hear it? Can you hear me now, Wafa?
Yeah, now perfect. Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
perfect.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, can you introduce our guest and just have him continue with his story for a couple of minutes? That would be really.
Yeah. شكله ضعيف. اوكي. يلا.
في اثناء الفتره اللي اول ما خشينا وقعدنا تجمعت الناس، وصار في الاطفال بيطلبوا اكل وبيطلبوا شرب، الابو بدا يورا شمال ويمين مش عارف ايش يعمل. صارت الناس ترجع لبيوتها، والبيوت تبعتنا مليانات، يعني فيها اكل وفيها شرب وفيها كل حاجه. احنا ما اخذنا حتى الذهب تبع كل واحد، ما اخذوش، يا دوب اخذ الهويته ولبسه وقال لي الله، ما فيش يعني ما اخذ معه ولا حاجه.
Yeah. So at that time, when they were in Deir al-Balaha, the children there asked for food, for their basic needs. So the parents at that time they make it to return for a few time to their homes, to bring their stuff, but they couldn't because actually they left everything behind them. Nothing. They just left with only their clothes and their identity, and that's it. And they left their golds, their food, and everything. It was we're behind them.
لما رجعنا للبيوت لقينا اليهود بعض منهم يسرق البيوت تبعاتنا، يعني قاعدين بفتشوا في البيوت، واللي بيشوفوه عربي فلسطيني رجع بيطخوه بيموت، يعني كثير ماتوا ناس.
So for the people who returned to their homes, at that time, actually when they managed to reach their home, the occupation forces, when they were there, they shot at them and killed many when they returned to their homes. And they find that the occupation forces stole actually many of like their money and their golds that are left in their homes.
فلما الواحد رجعنا ثاني على دير البلح، وين الناس متواجدين كلياتهم، بدأت الوكالة تجيب خيام للناس، وبيعطوا كل 20 بني آدم أو 20 نفر في خيمة واحدة. بعدين ما جابوا مية في سيارات، ما كانش الساعة لا مدوا مواسير ولا مراحيض ولا حاجة. كان الوضع صعب جدا.
So then the UNRWA, that is, for specialized for refugees, for Palestinian refugees. They provided the people there with tents, you know, to live, to make like a shelter for themselves, and then they provide them with some of their basic needs.
فأخذ وقت كبير طبعا عشان الناس اختار، عشان حوالي يمكن حوالي مليون اللي هاجروا من أيام 48. بدأت الوكالة تبني لهم المدرسة ولا على بالهم، عملوا كله خيام. بعدين بدأوا يبنوا بناية، وأخذ البناية أخذت وقت كثير. فكان الناس يعني يقاسوا كثير من الوضع السيء بيشوفوه.
Okay. So the UNRWA, you know, built like schools for the refugees at that time, you know, and helped them, you know, to survive indeed, but nothing like their homes, you know. تمام.
واحنا الشعب الفلسطيني لا يمكن ننسى الوطن، لا يمكن بأي حال من الأحوال. وطنك زي دمك في جسمك، يعني لازم نرجع يوما ما إلى وطننا ونسكنه ونتهنى فيه ونعيش بسلام.
أنت سمعت القصص هذه من جدودك؟
طبعا احنا سمعنا حاجات يعني بتشيب الشعر. يعني الإنسان حامل مثلا أكل أو شرب أو كيس على ظهره ويلقى اليهود يطخوه، وبعدين يخلي الولد الصغير يروح هيك في الشارع، ما بيعرف وين يروح الولد الصغير.
Okay, so I was only 5 years old when I forced, you know, to live with my parents, and my parents told me like so many horrible stories about the occupation forces and how they act against the Palestinians who were in 1948 territories at that time, you know. Yeah.
احنا راجعين يعني في ناس كانت تجيب معها الاكل او الكياس الاكل على دواب، على حمير او حصان او هكذا، فكان اليهود يطخوا الحمار عشان ما يشيلش ولا حاجه.
Even when they return to bring their stuff, you know, they use donkeys and some animals, you know, and even the animals, you know, got shot by the occupation forces. And you know, of course, got shot dead by occupation pilots. خلاص انت بتقدر تقولي and we shall return ان شاء الله.
وانا بحكي في الاخر في الختام ان احنا الشعب الفلسطيني لا يمكن ومصرين ولا يمكن ننسى الوطن. الوطن لازم نرجع له يوما ما، لا يمكن ان يكفي ذل. احنا عشنا ذل وعشنا يعني حياه مريره من الجميع كلهم هانونا خاصه الاحتلال. احنا شفنا فيه ايام سنين كانت زي يعني مش كويسه خالص. وان شاء الله بعزم الله لازم نرجع يوما ما، لازم نرجع لفلسطين، لازم نرجع. we shall return to our lands, our countries soon.
ان شاء الله. Okay.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much. Look, you know, from all our speakers in Gaza, the common denominator, it all comes back to the blockade, to the NAKBA, to the stealing of people's land, to driving people off their land, and the answer has to be to end the blockade of Gaza, end the military occupation of the West Bank, and allow Palestinians to take control of the health situation right at the moment, but control of their lives and have the opportunity for self-determination. So that's got to be our political message that comes from here to our government, and I know all of us here are working really hard to that end. Look, we've got, I'm not sure, we've had one more speaker, which was Sabreen. Is Sabreen on the call?
والله جوالي. صابرين رزان موجودة؟ I will call her. Just.
All right. Now, so she's able to come on. She was. We had a wee test run the other night, and Sabreen was on, and she was she's the mother of Razan, and Razan was the young woman, the 21-year-old paramedic who was shot dead by Israeli snipers 2 years ago on the Great March of Return, and there was a worldwide outcry about this brutal killing of a person clearly identified as a medic with a group of medics supporting 2 wounded people. So we're hoping she was certainly expecting to be on the call tonight, or hoping to be. So Wafa, you don't know, you haven't got anything?
Yeah. موجودة رزان موجودة؟
نعم.
Okay, she is online. Yeah. Okay, you can start. ابدي وأنا بترجم لك بس شوي.
اوكي ان شاء الله. في البداية طبعا حابة أرحب بالضيوف الكرام، أحكي لهم أهلا وسهلا.
Okay, welcome to everyone.
أنا صبرين النجار، والدة الشهيدة رزان النجار، عمري 45 سنة، لدي 8 أطفال، وأعمل الآن متطوعة في الإغاثة الطبية بدار رزان رحمة الله عليها.
So I am Sabreen Annajjar. I'm the mother of Razan Al-Najjar. I am 45 years old. I have 8 children. Razan was the eldest one.
طبعا في هذا اليوم طبعا بذكرى استشهاد رزان رحمة الله عليها في 17 من رمضان. طبعا ذكرى مؤلمة بفراقها. طبعا سبحان الله تصدف ان اليوم بنفس البرنامج طبعا بنصحى الصبح على ألم الفراق الموجع اللي بسبب لنا اياه الاحتلال الإسرائيلي.
Today, mark the 3rd anniversary of Razan, the killing of Razan by the Israeli occupation forces, and now Sabreen works like a volunteer paramedic instead of her daughter Razan.
طبعا أنا بدي أحكي عن رزان. طبعا أكيد العالم كله بيعرف رزان وشو عمل رزان اللي كانت ضحت بحياتها كرمال العمل الإنساني. رزان كانت بتعمل في مخيمات العودة الكبرى كمسعفة متطوعة بدون أي مقابل، كونها إنها كانت بس عملها الإنساني هو بالدرجة الأولى إلها.
Okay, so everybody maybe heard of Razan. Razan worked as a volunteer, a paramedic in the Great Return March, the massive march which were, near the separation fence with Israel.
بدأت رزان عملها من 30 آذار 2018. أول كان يوم إلها بمشاركة في يوم الأرض، ذكرى نكبة الأرض، وكانت أول المتطوعين، أول على مستوى القطاع، كانت هي أول شابة تنزل على الميدان.
So Razan was the first young woman to work as a volunteer paramedic with the Ministry of Health. She was she was actually the first woman to be with the other paramedics.
كانت تعمل من الساعة 7 صباحا حتى الساعة 10 مساء بدون تعب أو كلل أو ملل. بالعكس كانت تعمل بكل حب وكل إرادة وقوة وعزيمة.
Okay, so she actually started from the first day, from the very beginning of launching the Great Return March, and she was working from the very beginning of the morning until the end of the march at the end of the day.
كل هدفها كان مساعدة المصابين. كان حلمها إنها تعود إلى أرضها، الأراضي اللي إحنا تشردنا منها. كان حلمها إنها تحرر وطنها، حلمها إنها تثبت للعالم إن إحنا قادرين نعمل كل شيء بدون سلاح، بدون حروب، بدون دمار.
So her dream was to return to her. Okay, so her dream was to return to her occupied homelands that her grandparents were forced to ejected from these lands, and she liked actually to help the injured people who were shot by the Israeli occupation forces at that time. She loved this thing, and she loves to help. She loved to help everybody, you know, at that time. Yeah.
رغم سنها الصغير، يعني كانت 21 عام، يعني لم تتجاوز إلا 21 عام في هذه المرحلة التي تعتبر من أجمل مراحل العمر. كانت يعني قدمت حياتها كرمال للعمل الإنساني والتطوعي، مقابله كان الدماء تبعها اللي يسيلها الاحتلال الصهيوني.
So she sacrificed her life. She was only 21 years old, and she sacrificed her life to see her country free and to help her people.
الاحتلال الإسرائيلي قضى على كل أحلام رزان. رزان كان عندها أحلام كتيرة كبيرة، إنها تكمل تعليمها، إنها تعيش حياتها، إنها تتزوج وكلها أطفال، لكن للأسف الشديد الاحتلال هدم كل أحلام رزان.
So Razan was like other women, you know. She had so many dreams, among them to continue her education in the university and to get married and to have children as well.
روزان قتلت وهي مرتدية اللباس الذي معروف على مستوى العالم بأكمله، أنه هو يحميها، أنه في اتفاقية جنيف الرابعة بتنص على حماية المسعفين في منطقة الحروب، ولكن الاحتلال لا يعرف قوانين ولا يحترم سيادة قانون.
So according to the Geneva, you know, Razan was shot by the Israeli forces while she was wearing her vest, you know, the white coat. And this thing, according to the international law, this thing should protected her, but in addition, in contrary, this thing didn't protect her from being shot by the Israeli occupation forces, and then they violate all the international laws and they shot her dead.
لماذا الاحتلال الإسرائيلي دائما وأبدا يقتل الأطفال والنساء، الممرضين، المسعفين، الصحفيين، لا يحترم سيادة قانون؟ لماذا الاحتلال الإسرائيلي دائما القوة العظمى عند الدول الثانية؟ ليه يعني لماذا؟
Why the occupation always target the children, target the journalists, target the paramedics, and they got the power to attack the vulnerable people, but nobody, stopped them. Why?
بأي حق أنا أحرم من بنتي؟ بأي حق روزان تقتل بدم بارد؟
What is my guilt, to be deprived from my daughter? What is the guilt of my daughter to be killed, at this age
أنا أم مثل أي أم بدها تفرح ببنتها، تزوجها. ليش الاحتلال الإسرائيلي يحرم كل أم من ابنها أو بنتها؟
I'm a mother, and I hope to provide safety for my daughter, and I like to see her, to see her like a bride. But why the occupation?
للأسف الشديد الأمهات الفلسطينيين يعانوا من بطش الاحتلال الإسرائيلي، سواء أمهات الشهداء أو الجرحى أو الأسرى أو الأيتام. بأي حق الأم الفلسطينية تتضرر من الاحتلال الإسرائيلي؟
The Palestinian women mothers, what is their guilty, to be deprived from their sons, their daughters? What is their guilt to live such life,
هل العمل الإنساني يصنف إرهابي الآن عند الاحتلال الإسرائيلي؟ هل رزان عملها إرهابي؟ إنها بتساعد الجرحى، بتخلي الجرحى، هذا هو عملها الإرهابي؟
So Razan was, helping her people like in a humanitarian way. She was helping, the injured people. Is this like a terrorizing? Was she a terrorist to be targeted for her humanitarian work?
رزان تربت على ان على العمل الانساني بالدرجه الاولى، انا غرزت فيها وكلنا غرزنا فيها ان العمل الانساني هذا ما بيقف عند عمل معين او عند دين معين، بالعكس. يعني انا سالتها في يوم من الايام يا رزان لو انت قابلتي جندي اسرائيلي متصاب على الحدود شو بدك تعملي فيه؟ قالت لي انا هسعفه يا ماما رغم احنا المحتلين.
So I raised her to help others, you know, and to because she is a paramedic, so she has to help everybody far away from their religion, far away from their nationality. And once I asked her, what if you face an Israeli?
رزان بعد ختمها حتى تجيب الادوات الطبيه للمحتاجين. بعرف ان احنا محاصرين، يعني ما بيوجد عندنا حتى ادويه كافيه، لكن رزان بعد جوالها وختمها وهي يعني احنا كان يعني وضعنا المادي صعب كثير، رغم هيك ما فرقت عندها، قالت مش مشكله، المهم الناس اللي هي بتروح هذه فدا لازم انا اقف فيها.
So she sold her mobile phone and she sold her gold ring because she took the money and helped the injured people and bought stuff for her work. And in that time, she was in need to such thing, but she sacrificed this for her people.
أنا بدي كل العالم يعرف مين هي رزان، الملاك الرحمة اللي قتلت بدون أي ذنب، ذنبها الوحيد إنها كانت بتمد إيد العون لغيرها.
I want everybody to know my daughter Razan. She is the angel of mercy, the angel of mercy, angel of mercy. Yeah. So I want everybody to know it and to know her and to know why the Israeli occupation forces targeted her.
للأسف الشديد الاحتلال رغم أن كل العالم بمر بأزمة صعبة كتير بسبب مرض الكورونا، إلا ما زال أنه بيمارس من أقوى أنواع الإرهاب علينا، من الانتهاكات اللي بتصير في الشعب الفلسطيني للأسف الشديد ما بيحترم أي شيء.
So despite the coronavirus outbreak across the world, but the Israeli occupation forces do not stop targeting the people of Palestine, do not stop violating the international law every single day, even among this coronavirus outbreak around the world.
يعني احنا بندعي لكل العالم ان يرفع البلاء عن العالم كله، لان هذا عمل انسان، يعني انت بتتمني الخير لاي بشر، احنا في النهايه احنا بني ادمين بغض النظر عن الديانات، كل انسان له دينته، احنا ما بتفرق معنا شو دينته او شو ملته، بالنهايه احنا بشر.
So we pray that this virus may come to an end and and everybody around the world live in safety and in peace, because we love to see everybody around the world in peace, regardless their religion or their nationality, and because this is a humanitarian issue.
ولكن الاحتلال يمارس علينا أشد أنواع الانتهاكات، سواء بالإغلاق المعابر، سواء بالحصار، سواء بقتل أبنائنا، بنسائنا، بالأسرى، يعني بكل شيء بيحاول إنه يضايق علينا الخناق.
So the occupation actually every single day they violate the life of the Palestinian people, and every day they targeted the people and attacked them every single day. There are so many Palestinian prisoners in the Israeli jails. So many every day there are raids to the Palestinian towns. So the occupation forces actually every single day they practice all kind of brutality against the Palestinian people.
طبعا أنا حابة كمان أضيف شيء تاني، إن رزان رغم صغر سنها إنها كانت عندها القدرة الكافية إنها تثبت وجودها بالميدان، تثبت وجودها بكل مكان، على حبها للغير، حبها لعمل الخير. يعني كتير كانت تعمل أشياء أنا ما كنت أعرف فيها رغم سنها الصغير.
Razan was so young, but she managed, to prove herself in the field. For example, so many things she was doing, and I got shocked because she did that, and her mother didn't know or don't know how to use it or how to deal with it.
طبعا مقابل هذا كله عملها الرائع، عملها الإنساني، مقابله كان القتل بدم بارد بدون أي حق. كانت رزان وجها لوجه قدام الاحتلال، كانت معروفة رزان بالنسبة له، كانت تداوي الجرحى قدام الاحتلال، كان بطاقتها مكتوب عليها اسمها وصورتها، يعني هي معروفة إذا هي مسعفة ولا مش مسعفة، فبأي ذنب رزان تقتل.
So the occupation forces and the snipers, they used to see Razan, rescuing the injured people because she treated them in front of their eyes, and every day they see her wearing her white coat, but instead they killed her in cold blood in front, face to face, near the fence. Yeah.
طبعا الاحتلال يعني بقتله لرزان حاول يضعف قوتي وإرادتي، لكن بالعكس هو بقتله لرزان أعطاني القوة إن أنا أكمل مشوار رزان رغم إن أنا عندي أطفال، ولكن أنا متواجدة دائما بالميدان، دائما في العمل التطوعي موجودة مكان رزان لأني بدي أكمل مشوار رزان.
The occupation think that by the killing of my daughter Razan, that they are weakening me, but instead I'm strong enough, and I continue my daughter work, and I work as a volunteer paramedic right now and continue the work of my daughter.
طبعا فراق رزان موجع ومؤلم، ولكن الحياة بدها تستمر. يعني صحيح رزان أنا فقدتها، ولكن استكمالي لمسيرتها بيعطيني القوة والصبر. يعني اليوم يمكن يعني من الصباح الباكر ونحن نتذكر كيف اليوم طلعت على الميدان من بعد الظهر، كيف كان اليوم، كيف بتحب وكيف بتكره. فاليوم كان كتير مليان كتير بالوجع اللي ترك لي الاحتلال الإسرائيلي.
So since today is the anniversary of her killing, since the very beginning, since the early hours of the morning, we were talking about her. How did she, get out from the house and leave the house to go to help the people in the Great Return March protests?
طبعا أنا بتمنى من العالم كله، بتمنى من الحكومة اليونزلندية إنها تساعدنا، والضغط على إسرائيل برفع الحصار عنا، بعدم الانتهاكات اللي كل يوم للأسف الشديد، والاعتقالات والأسرى اللي موجودة بالاحتلال، والعنف اللي بيصير في السجون الاحتلال.
So my message to the New Zealand government is they should to put pressure in the Israeli occupation and to end the unfair siege that is imposed on the Gaza Strip.
طبعا بتمنى منهم، انا كثير سعيده كثير ان انا طالعه معاهم لايف، وكثير سعيده انهم بيسمعوني وبيسمعوا، وبتمنى ان الكل يسمع صوتنا وصوت الشعب الفلسطيني المحاصر من قبل الاحتلال، ويسمعوا صرخات الاطفال اليتامى اللي حرمت من ابنها وبنتها، واللي من ابوها واللي من اخوها. بتمنى من العالم كله يسمعنا.
So I'm so happy because I'm joining you today, and really I hope everybody around the world to hear me and to hear the story of the Palestinian people and to act for them.
طبعا بأكد للعالم إن رزان موجودة في كل قلب واحد دلوقتي بيشاركنا على اللايف. رزان موجودة في قلبه، وأنا متأكدة من الإشي هذا، وبشكرهم كثير على حسن استماعهم لي.
She thank you so much for listening to her, and she believes that Razan is in everybody's heart right now. So thank you so much from her. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, everybody. Oh, thank you so much, Sabreen. That's really wonderful to hear that. And I think the the message is loud and clear that we have to put much more pressure on our government to act. Our government is one of a lot of governments around the world that say, oh, we support the Palestinians. We call on Israel to do this, we do that. And every year New Zealand votes the right way at the United Nations, but we don't turn that into effective pressure on Israel. And that's what we have to do. So thank you so much for sharing that story. And what it tells us is that, behind the statistics we see in our newspapers about Palestinians being killed, every one of those is a deeply personal story. And thank you for sharing the story of your daughter with us today, because that's one of those cases that should go to the International Criminal Court, and hopefully there will be some justice that comes out at the end. But thank you very much for sharing that. And can I say, just before we get on to Roger, I see Roger there with his guitar, warming it up. If just before we do that, can we have one sort of last round of applause for all of our speakers? I mean, we've had Dr. Abbas, we've had Sabreen just now, we've had Bakshir, we've had Raed, we've had Julie, Wafa, and we've had the gentleman who's the 87-year-old who survived the NAKBA. So thank them all for sharing their stories with us today. We just do not get Palestinian voices into our news media and into our community. And I think you've shared these very deep personal stories today, and we are very privileged to hear them. So as we finished off our last rally with Gaza with Roger singing a song, and I have to say that Roger is making a return tonight by popular acclaim, because it was a huge success last time. So Roger, we're going to give you a round of applause before you start. And over to you to finish us off, okay?
Yeah, thank you, John. And yes, it was great to hear the speakers tonight. It's very illuminating to hear firsthand about the struggle. I just want to announce also, John, that Kiona Gaza is organising an online screening of a documentary on the murderous attack on the Mavi Marmara 10 years ago. The anniversary is coming up in 3 weeks, and this will be one of the events that commemorate that occasion. This song is, I wrote this after the last visit to Gaza. It's raining fire from the sky. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Who will fall and who'll survive? That's the reason why. In our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians. In our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians. I hear the children scream at night, and the haunting sound of a mother's cry, as in her arms her baby dies. And I'll tell you why. In our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians. In our thousands and in our millions, we are all Palestinians. I see a boy pick up a stone as the tanks blow up his home. Well, he's not standing there alone, and there's a reason why. 'Cause in our thousands and in our millions, We are all Palestinians, and in our thousands, yes, in our millions, we are all Palestinians.
That's great. Thank you so much, Roger. That's wonderful, wonderful to hear. It's such an inspiring, uplifting song, and it sort of fits in with the fact that we're reaching across the world to the other side of the world. New Zealand, I think, the farthest country away from Gaza compared to any other country in the world, and we're reaching our arms around, and a lot more of the solidarity. And we've got to turn our concerns into effective pressure on Israel. That's our big challenge. So the BDS campaign, boycott, divestment, and sanctions. That's where, you know, that's where we need to be taking this. And I see Sabreen's up there, and she's got a little baby in her, sitting on her. I guess that's one of her granddaughters. So that's a lovely thing to have. So look, thanks everybody for joining the call tonight. Yeah, it's really good. And yeah, what more can I say? Very, very, you know, at the end, you know. As I think Sabreen said towards the end of what she was saying about, this is actually a humanitarian issue. You know, it's about, doesn't matter the ethnicity, it doesn't matter the religion. It's about standing up against brutality towards people. And I think that's what unites us on the call tonight. So thank you all for coming on. It's really, give ourselves a big round of applause. Righto. Woohoo! Good people, hey, thank you very much, and we'll call it quits there, and yeah, stay in touch. Thanks for all those signs that people have had up there. I know Fred's had one going up all the time, which is fantastic. And yeah, if you want one of these t-shirts, you can email, well, you can just get in touch with us. You know how to do that. Okay, thanks very much. Goodbye, everybody. Okay.